You're listening to the Strange World Podcast, a podcast for those navigating the strange and uncertain realities that is the world today. If you've been following the news lately, you've already know that coronavirus is the only thing anyone is talking about. And you're probably not 100% sure what entails with the coronavirus. So let's take a look at what's been going on and see if what's been happening has been justified. You've probably noticed already that the world is buying out so much toilet paper because of the coronavirus. And you're probably wondering, 1, is this justified? 2, when will we have toilet paper because I had a lot of fattening food and laxatives for dinner tonight? Well, the short answer to the first question is no, not really. You don't really need to buy this much toilet paper because of the coronavirus. The truth is, the reason people are doing this is kind of multifold. People talked about the coronavirus being similar to the flu. With that in mind, people thought of the stomach flu, where you were constantly on the toilet, either vomiting or with diarrhea. And with that in mind, people were afraid seeing how quickly it would spread, and a few started panic buying. This caused a domino effect, which made more people want to buy in bulk, and so on until you get stores literally running out of toilet paper then the same day they put it out. So you really don't need that much toilet paper, so if you did buy it in bulk, hopefully you'll be kind enough to start donating that to families that actually need it. If not, I'm glad you're going to have to open a credit card bill in a few months explaining why you spent so much on toilet paper. But in all seriousness, China is trying to cover this up. There is evidence showing that China actually knew about the existence of the coronavirus as early as December, maybe even sooner. And Dr. Li Wenliang actually blew the whistle on the coronavirus and went to fellow doctors to explain the symptoms. It wasn't long before communist authorities in China tracked down the posts and actually forced him to retract his statements on the existence of the coronavirus. And just 6 weeks later, Dr. Li actually died due to exposure to the coronavirus. Now, there's no confirmation whether or not it was being used as a biological weapon, as some sources are claiming. Right now, it does seem like it was a disease that China wanted to cover up, which is bad. And by the time we got to January 14th, the World Health Organization started questioning China. And China pretty much just lies to them straight to their face, saying that there's no evidence of human-to-human transmission and that it was already being contained. Obviously, that's a lie when you look at this. Yes. And there's also some evidence suggesting that China may be lying about the current death tolls due to coronavirus, because right now they're claiming that they already have complete control over it and the death rate is on the decline. However, when looking at cell phone use in China, we see that it's still significantly lower, much lower once we factor in the ideas of how much the death rate is according to China. So it's possible that the virus is still spreading there and the death rate is much higher. And that is causing a lot of people to react in fear. Like, the government is reacting to this pandemic by increasing spending under the idea that it's an emergency. The main problem with that is that they tend to use this crisis as a way to make emergency spending as more of a permanent thing than an emergency thing. Like, we already have some groups on the left demanding that we increase taxation and spending as well as government safety programs rather than just for this time of crisis as permanent things. In fact, Trump's $1,000 tax refund is already being treated as universal basic income, popularized by former presidential candidate Andrew Yang. And the question is this really a universal basic income? The short answer is no. It does not meet what Andrew Yang wanted to implement. Andrew Yang wanted to implement a system that he would replace all forms of welfare if you so choose to take it. Your only qualification to receive UBI under President Yang's administration would be an American over the age of 18, and that's literally it. The only other qualification is you forego any right to any other welfare program while receiving UBI. Trump's tax refund is a little bit different. You're gonna get it one time, and it will be based on your income. If you make more than $100,000 a year, then you will not qualify for his tax refund. If you're under the $100,000 limit, you will qualify, and if you have children, you'll receive up to $500 more for each child under the age of 18 in your household. So it's more closer to a bigger tax refund than actually being universal basic income like Andrew Yang wants. And the idea is that these things may become permanent, similar to how a lot of the stuff of President FDR wanted to put under the New Deal, with implementing an income tax and many other government programs being used only as a last resort in times of crisis due to the Great Depression, but eventually becoming permanent. And that's one thing we need to look out for in coming months, whether or not people are demanding whatever we see in the upcoming relief efforts being made into permanent fixations into the federal government. And we also going to need to see what's going to happen in the UN and when this is all said and done. And the world economy pretty much tanked because of this, and many governments will want to ask China questions about covering this up. Unfortunately, I don't see China actually being completely starved from the world economy, because at this point, they're a huge linchpin in the world economy. Everyone in the world actually goes to China for cheap plastic goods, which is kind of why when they first got the coronavirus, just in China, things started to get really bad as the coronavirus exploded in China. Eventually, things did get hit a little bit better until they got way worse when it started spreading all over the world. But we will have to start looking into how China actually handled this, and if they deserve to have any sanctions placed on them as a result. I already know that that America will most likely use this as an excuse to cause more intervention within China itself, as an excuse to crack down on the human rights violations that China is being accused of to this day, and may be even worse once we actually look into this. I would also like to expect that we can see a great deal of the Five Eyes Alliance looking into China to prevent future pandemics. If you don't know what the Five Eyes Alliance is, in short, it's essentially a combination of the five strongest governments in the world, formed right after World War II, promising to keep espionage on each other's nations as well as the world. So I can highly see them looking more into China as a result of this. And we eventually need to see some form of release happening, because the truth is small businesses are the ones being hurt the most, and if they die, hey, then that's gonna be detrimental to who the world to local economies. Please, look around any major city. Right now, they're going to force lockdown. So any locally owned restaurant is going to have some pretty tight budgets and will eventually be forced to lay a lot of their employees off. And that honestly sucks. I work in a restaurant, I get along with everyone there, and I can say without a shadow of a doubt that the managers do not want to fire anyone. But when push comes to shove, they may have to make the difficult decision to start letting people go permanently or at least temporarily. And that's not going to be an isolated thing. This is going to be seen all over the country, especially in major cities that were forced to shut down first. Like New York is going to get hit hard without its tourist industry, and we will see it last long after the lockdown. That restaurants won't be able to last in New York if the tourist industry doesn't start spiking up again and in there. So right now you're probably asking yourself, what's something you actually can do? Well, the easiest thing you can do is wash your hands and just let the sickness is die. If you feel sick, stay home from work and try to not spread the virus, because right now social distancing is the best weapon we have, just because we don't know what's going to happen in a few months. Like right now the death rates are relatively low, but there's the possibility that it mutates into something stronger and starts taking out other age groups. So if we can just stop in its tracks before we put too much strain on the healthcare industries across the world, we will be safe. That's kind of the issue that Italy is having at the moment. Like, within 48 hours of them going to lockdown, it reached peak medical care. It was peaked at control. Like, you could not. Like, they were forced to choose between treating people with coronavirus in their 20s or elderly people dying. The Italian government actually gave orders to hospitals to not treat the elderly because of coronavirus spikes. So that's all you gotta do. You gotta wash your hands, isolate, try whatever you can to not spread, and if you want to help your local businesses, I would recommend ordering DoorDash, because right now that's their best bet to help keep them afloat in this trying time. Right. Because no restaurant in most states are allowed to do sit-down business anymore. Right now they're all kind of limited to just delivery and carry out. So if you can order it, I would recommend you do every now and then, just to help people stay afloat and help people who are struggling with trying to make ends meet and need DoorDash to supplement their income, and do it. I think that's right now the best stuff you can do. So, dear listeners, try your hardest to be safe out there, because this may not be a completely dangerous world, but it's definitely a strange world.